I should hate the man I was forced to marry to inherit billions. So why does every sabotage attempt only bring us closer together? Every canceled venue, every leaked secret, every obstacle meant to tear us apart just proves what I'm terrified to admit, that this marriage of convenience has become inconveniently real. And now I don't know what's more dangerous, losing the fortune or losing him.
Before you continue watching and find out how this ends, please subscribe to the channel and help us reach 1,000 subscribers so we can keep posting incredible stories like this one.
Sophia steps into the law office, her Louboutin heels clicking against marble floors. Dressed for battle in a tailored Armani suit, she's prepared for her father's final manipulations. But nothing prepares her for the man waiting. Damian Blackwood rises when she enters, and Sophia's breath catches. The gangly teenager has transformed into something devastating, 6'3" of lean muscle in a charcoal Tom Ford suit. His emerald eyes lock onto hers with an intensity that makes her pulse stutter. Sophia. His voice is deeper than she remembered, with a hint of British accent. When he extends his hand, electricity shoots up her arm from their handshake. Damien. She keeps her voice cool, professional. He's staring like he can't believe what he's seeing. The scrawny girl with braces has become a woman who commands rooms. Auburn hair in a perfect chignon, intelligent dark eyes, curves her suit can't hide. "You've changed," he says, running a hand through his hair. "So have you." This is dangerous territory. Instant, undeniable attraction that could complicate everything. When the lawyer reads the marriage clause, both explode simultaneously. "That's medieval. This is ridiculous." They stop mid-protest, staring. Even their outrage is perfectly synchronized. In the parking garage, they argue beside their cars. Her Tesla, his Aston Martin. "This is posthumous blackmail." Sophia's eyes flash with fury. "Our fathers are pulling our strings like marionettes." "At least we agree on something," Damien says, loosening his tie. "You always were impossible to deal with." "Impossible?" Sophia steps closer, chin raised. "Says the boy who put frogs in my backpack. You were 11 and insufferable." But he's smiling. "You threw me in the lake fully clothed. You deserved it. Still do, probably." The banter flows like they're continuing a conversation from yesterday, not 15 years ago. Sophia realizes Damien isn't just handsome, he's sharp, witty, matching her perfectly. "This situation is insane, but maybe we can make it tolerable," Damien says, voice softening. "Tolerable." Sophia tastes the word. "That's one way to put it. What would you call it?" She studies his face. Strong jawline, eyes that crinkle when thinking, the mouth she shouldn't be noticing. "Potentially catastrophic." Damien laughs, a rich sound that affects her nervous system. "But, Sophia," he steps closer, and she catches his scent. "We always brought out the best and worst in each other." "That's what I'm afraid of," she whispers, remembering her teenage crush on her father's business partner's son. The adult version is infinitely more dangerous. 2 weeks later, Sophia discovers financial irregularities, money disappearing in patterns suggesting sophisticated laundering. Her forensic accountant reveals transactions corresponding with Blackwood Industries reports. "Someone with access to both companies orchestrated this," Jennifer explains, pointing to highlighted figures. Sophia's blood runs cold. Damien had that access. Could the man who made her laugh be stealing from her? She locks the evidence away, guilt gnawing. They're supposed to discuss wedding venues tomorrow, and she'll have to pretend she doesn't suspect him. Meanwhile, Damien stares at investigator reports showing Sophia's father leaving the brake shop before his father's fatal accident. Security footage shows money changing hands. "The brake lines were tampered with," the investigator explains. "Your father suspected something. He left a message saying if anything happened, look at Ricardo Mendoza. Damien's stomach churns. His father was murdered, and Sophia's father was the killer. Does Sophia know? He looks at the engagement ring he bought, emerald diamonds matching her eyes. Tomorrow, he was going to surprise her, admit his feelings are real. Now he doesn't know if he can trust her. Both go to sleep wondering if the person they're falling for is their greatest enemy. Victoria Blackwood plots her son's engagement destruction, crystal tumbler in hand. "Find me a loophole, Marcus," she tells the family lawyer. "My son will not marry that gold digger's daughter." Marcus Silva has his own agenda. With Sophia in a doomed relationship, he can extend proceedings indefinitely, billing enormous fees. "Perhaps if we prove false pretenses." "Then create them," Victoria snaps. "I will not have that woman's blood mixing with ours." Elena Reyes, Damien's toxic ex-girlfriend, perfects her devastated expression in the mirror. Beautiful and dangerous, she's been his on-and-off lover for 3 years. When she heard about the engagement, she nearly destroyed her phone. Damien belongs to her. She texts him, "Congratulations. Can we talk? There are things you need to know about your fiancé." Thomas Mendoza sits surrounded by rejection letters, the family disappointment drowning in gambling debts. Sophia got everything: brains, charisma, success. The marriage clause was his salvation. If Sophia failed, he'd inherit everything. But now she's actually marrying Blackwood. He dials a number. "I want to hire you to break up an engagement. Money's no object." 4 separate conspiracies converge, each determined to destroy the marriage. The wedding planning session at the Four Seasons stretches into its 3rd hour, and Sophia finds herself genuinely enjoying Damien's company despite her suspicions. They've tested 7 cakes, debated flowers with passion, and discovered they both hate formal ceremonies. "Absolutely not," Sophia laughs, pointing at a towering ice sculpture of swans. "That's hideous." "Thank God," Damien grins. "I was wondering how to say it looks like frozen roadkill." "Much more understated," they say in unison, then look at each other in surprise. This synchronicity keeps happening. Same music taste, preferring intimate gatherings, wanting authentic ceremonies over society spectacles. When the planner suggests engagement photos on the terrace, Sophia's stomach flutters. Photos mean touching, posing, pretending to be in love. Except she suspects she might not be pretending anymore. The photographer positions them against the city skyline. "Natural chemistry, please. Connect with each other." Damien's hands settle on Sophia's waist, and she places palms against his chest, feeling his heartbeat accelerate. This close, she sees gold flecks in his green eyes, pupils dilating when he looks at her mouth. "This okay?" he murmurs, thumbs tracing circles against her hip bones. Sophia nods, not trusting her voice. The financial discrepancies seem impossibly distant when he's looking at her like she's precious. "Now a kiss," the photographer calls. Soft, romantic, but passionate. Damien's eyes search hers. "Sophia, just for photos," she whispers, knowing it's a lie. When his lips touch hers, everything disappears. The kiss starts gentle, but Sophia's hands fist in his shirt, pulling him closer. Damien responds with matching hunger, one hand tangling in her hair, pressing her against him until there's no space between them. The kiss deepens, becomes desperate. Sophia realizes with stunning clarity this isn't acting. The electricity, the way her body fits perfectly against his, how he kisses her like he's drowning, this is real. When they break apart, breathing hard, the photographer grins. Perfect, absolutely perfect. But Sophia sees conflict in Damien's eyes, desire and guilt. "That wasn't supposed to happen," she whispers. "No," Damien agrees, thumb brushing her swollen lips. "But I'm not sorry it did." "We should be careful," Sophia says, though every instinct screams to kiss him again. Sophia, there are things we need to talk about. Our fathers, the past. Later, she interrupts, terrified. Let's have this moment without complications. But she knows there's no such thing as uncomplicated with Damien Blackwood. The next morning, Sophia's mood evaporates when Victoria Blackwood sweeps into her office. Impeccably dressed, she places a manila envelope on Sophia's desk with theatrical precision. I thought you should see these before you make the biggest mistake of your life, Victoria says with false concern. Sophia opens it with trembling fingers. Inside are bank statements showing Damien's accounts receiving transfers corresponding exactly with missing money from Mendoza Industries. $23 million, Victoria says, settling across from her. Transferred from your accounts to my son's holdings over 8 months. I hired investigators when I heard about this engagement. I thought he was being manipulated, but he's the manipulator. Sophia stares at the numbers, heart sinking. The amounts, timing, routing numbers match her forensic accountant's discoveries. This could be fabricated. Check with your bank, Victoria suggests smoothly. You'll find they're real. The worst part is how perfectly it fits. Damien's easy acceptance of marriage, his charm, drawing her in emotionally. Was it calculated? Every kiss, every connection, part of an elaborate con? When Victoria leaves, Sophia feels sick with betrayal and stupidity. She'd been so careful with partners, suspicious of fortune hunters, but Damien disarmed her completely. When Damien arrives for dinner, Sophia waits in the private dining room, documents spread across the tablecloth like crime scene evidence. Sophia? Damien stops in the doorway, taking in her rigid posture, the papers, her cold expression. What's this about? $23 million. She watches his face carefully, looking for guilt, panic, confirmation. Instead, she sees confusion, recognition, then hurt. You think I stole from you? He says quietly. Didn't you? The timing is convenient. 8 months of transfers coinciding with your enthusiasm for marriage. Damien's green eyes blaze. Is that what you think? That I would seduce you, manipulate you, steal from you? I don't know what to think, Sophia snaps, composure cracking. Yesterday you kissed me like I was everything. Today I find out you've been robbing me. Forgive me if I'm confused about which version is real. The man who kissed you is real, Damien says fiercely. Everything between us is real. But if you can believe I'm capable of this, he gestures at documents. Maybe I don't know you either. Maybe you don't, Sophia says coolly, heartbreaking. Maybe we don't know each other at all. Damien stares, then nods slowly. Maybe we don't. His expression shifts to polite mask. Strictly professional from now on. No dinner dates, no intimate conversations, just business. Fine, Sophia agrees, hating how much his withdrawal hurts. Strictly business. After he leaves, Sophia sits alone, wondering why doing the smart thing feels like the biggest mistake of her life. Crisis hits at 7 a.m. when Sophia's phone explodes with calls. The Chateau Marmont canceled their wedding booking, claiming security concerns. The florist received anonymous tips about financial irregularities. The caterer was told the event was postponed. This is sabotage, Sophia tells Damien, storming into his office. Someone is systematically destroying our wedding plans. Damien looks up, dark circles under his eyes. The band canceled too. Our cake order was switched to a funeral arrangement, black roses and condolence message. Despite everything, Sophia almost smiles. Someone has twisted humor. We need to work together, Damien says, closing his laptop. Whatever's happening personally, someone wants this marriage to fail badly enough to sabotage it professionally. They spend 6 hours making new arrangements. Sophia watches him work, calm authority with vendors, problem-solving under pressure, never mentioning the easiest solution would be calling off the engagement. Huntington Gardens can accommodate us next week, Damien announces. Perfect, Sophia interrupts, surprising herself. I always preferred outdoor ceremonies. Standing close over venue photos, Sophia catches herself breathing his cologne. This proximity feels dangerous but necessary. About the financial records Victoria showed me, Sophia says quietly. I swear I never took a penny from your accounts, he interrupts. I don't need your money. My trust fund is worth more than small countries. The only thing I want is you. He forwards his complete financial records. Have your accountant check these against Victoria's evidence. I can't stand how you look at me now, Damien says, eyes intense, like everything between us was fake. Sophia's walls crumble. It wasn't fake for me. Good, because it wasn't fake for me either. When he kisses her, it's desperate, claiming, trying to convince her with his mouth. They make love that afternoon in his office, passionate and intense, reclaiming something precious they almost lost. I want to trust you, Sophia murmurs against his skin. Then trust me, he says simply. Trust this. While Sophia and Damien reconcile, the real culprits continue scheming, unaware their targets are growing closer. Thomas coordinates from his car. Good work on the venue. What's next? I've got someone ready to discover health code violations, his investigator reports, and my bank contact can create more suspicious transactions linking Blackwood to theft. Thomas grins, imagining Sophia's reaction. She'll dump him within the week. I inherit everything. He doesn't notice the black sedan across the street capturing everything. Elena meets an investigator in a cocktail bar, sliding a USB drive across the table. These are old photos of Damien and me. Make them look recent, add metadata from last week. What's the story? That he's cheating on his fiancée. Their engagement is a sham. Elena's smile is sharp with malice. She doesn't see Victoria watching from the entrance. Victoria reviews forged documents with Marcus Silva. The beauty is we're not technically framing him, just enhancing existing suspicions. As long as it ends this engagement, Victoria says coldly. Neither realizes Damien's security chief, James Morrison, has been investigating. The ex-MI6 operative has surveillance footage of Thomas meeting investigators, Elena doctoring photos, Victoria bribing vendors. 4 separate conspiracies, James murmurs, updating files, all targeting the same goal. His phone buzzes. Silva is hiding something big, not just billing fraud, something about the original will being forged. James realizes the marriage clause might not be legitimate. Someone's been playing a much longer game. The trap springs during dinner at Sophia's penthouse. Elena arrives unannounced, catching Sophia and Damien together on the terrace. Sorry to interrupt, Elena says, though her smile suggests otherwise. Stunning in red, hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless despite summoned tears. Sophia stiffens, recognizing the threat. Elena. I'm Elena Reyes, Damien's ex-girlfriend, though the breakup is very recent. Elena, what are you doing here? Damien's voice carries warning and possible guilt. I needed to give you this. Elena produces an envelope. Your fiancé deserves the truth about what's been happening between us. Sophia's blood turns ice as Elena spreads photographs across the table. Images of Damien and Elena kissing, embracing, intimate. Timestamps show they were taken days ago, while Sophia and Damien were rebuilding trust. These were taken last Tuesday, Elena explains with fake sympathy, after you called me, Damien, said you couldn't go through with a loveless marriage. That's not, Damien starts. Last Tuesday, Sophia's voice is deadly quiet. The day after we decided to try again. You brought me flowers, said you wanted us to work. Those photos aren't what they look like, Damien says desperately. Timestamps are altered. These are old. They look clear to me, Sophia interrupts, mask sliding back. Congratulations. You almost convinced me you cared. I do care about you. Damien reaches for her. Please don't. I need you both to leave, now. Elena gathers photos efficiently. Sorry you found out this way. Better now than after the wedding. After they leave, Sophia pours wine and sits alone. Her phone buzzes with Damien's calls, but she doesn't answer. The photos felt real, timestamps authentic, Elena's tears genuine. What hurts more is how easily she believed it, jumped to worst conclusions despite everything shared. When Thomas calls an hour later, she answers immediately. Sophia, you sound upset. I'm considering calling off this engagement. Thomas smiles in triumph. That might be best, sis. You deserve better than a marriage of convenience. Neither realizes James Morrison's surveillance team is recording every word. Marcus Silva calls an emergency meeting in the Mendoza Industries boardroom. Sophia arrives expecting routine paperwork, but finds hostile faces: Victoria, Elena, Thomas, and unknown lawyers. Damien enters, expression darkening at the assembled crowd. What is this, Marcus? An intervention? Something like that, Marcus says, spreading documents theatrically. I've discovered shocking irregularities in your father's business relationship. James Morrison slips into the back unnoticed, hand on his recording device. He's waited for this moment when all conspirators would be together. Your fathers weren't just business partners, Marcus announces. They were lovers. Ricardo Mendoza and Jonathan Blackwood carried on a passionate affair for 15 years. Sophia's world tilts. That's impossible. My father loved my mother. Your mother knew, Victoria interjects coldly, producing photographs. These show them at hotels, intimate moments stolen from families. The photos are damning. Their fathers embracing, kissing, sharing rooms. Timestamps span years. When my mother discovered the affair, Victoria continues venomously, she confronted them. But your father wouldn't let go, Sophia. He was obsessed. So he killed her, Thomas adds, producing police reports. Car accident, they said, but brake lines were cut. Your father murdered Victoria's first wife. Damien stares, face pale. My father died 6 months later. Wasn't an accident either. Revenge, Marcus confirms. Eye for an eye. Both men were murderers, building their empire on blood. Sophia feels like drowning. Why tell us this? Marcus leans forward, smile cold. Because there's more. DNA tests I commissioned show you and Damien share the same father. You're half-siblings. The words hit like physical blows. Sophia grabs the table as the room spins. No, that's not possible. Ricardo fathered you both, Marcus continues relentlessly. The marriage clause wasn't about uniting partners. It was preventing siblings from discovering truth. Your father thought forced marriage would make you hate each other too much to investigate. Damien's hands shake, staring at reports. We're brother and sister, which makes your intimate relationship illegal in most states, Elena adds with false sympathy. Sophia sees her horror reflected in Damien's green eyes. The connection, chemistry, understanding, it makes terrible sense. They were drawn because they're family, share blood, recognized kinship. I'm going to be sick, Sophia whispers, rushing out. Damien follows to the hallway. Sophia, wait. Don't. She spins, tears streaming. Don't touch me. We're siblings and I know, he says hoarsely. They stare across marble hallway, space feeling like an ocean. Everything shared, kisses, lovemaking, feelings, suddenly tainted, wrong, impossible. The wedding is off, Sophia says numbly. I need to never see you again. Promise me you'll stay away, she interrupts desperately. Damien nods, his own tears falling. I promise. Sophia locks herself in her penthouse for 3 days. Can't eat, sleep, stop replaying images. Damien's hands on her body, the way he kissed her, their lovemaking. Her stomach churns with revulsion. "How could I fall in love with my own brother?" she sobs. Media explodes with incestuous romance scandal. Headlines are brutal. Billionaire siblings caught in forbidden love. Damien holes up across town, drinking scotch, staring at city lights. Every surface holds Sophia memories. Couch where they planned the wedding, kitchen where she made coffee. "Cancel everything," he tells his assistant. "I'm leaving the country." "For how long?" "Forever. I can never face her again. What we did was wrong on every level." Victoria arrives that evening, finding her son passed out drunk. For the first time, she feels guilt. She'd wanted to destroy the engagement, but seeing Damien broken, disgusted with himself, this wasn't intended. "We need to talk," she says softly. "About how I fell in love with my sister?" he mumbles. "About being a sick bastard who can't recognize his own blood? About the fact that you're not actually related," Victoria says quietly. Damien's eyes snap open. "What?" "The DNA reports were fabricated. You don't share genetic material. I've seen real tests. You're not siblings." "But the photos are real. Your fathers did have an affair, but you're not Ricardo's son. You're your father's biological child with his legal wife. Sophia is Ricardo's daughter from his marriage. No blood relation whatsoever." Damien sits up slowly. "Then why did Marcus lie?" Victoria's expression hardens. "He's been playing a longer game. Forged DNA reports to break you up, but also forged the original will. The marriage clause was never your father's idea. It was his. He created the scenario to control both fortunes while you destroyed each other. She thinks we're siblings. She's traumatized, disgusted." "Exactly what Marcus wanted. He needed you psychologically damaged so you'd never question proceedings while he transferred assets." "I have to tell her. Find Sophia." "She won't see you," Victoria worries. "She's completely shut down." 2 weeks pass in legal proceedings and media scrutiny. Sophia becomes a recluse, lost 15 pounds, dark circles making her gaunt. Can't look in mirrors without seeing Damien's reflection superimposed. Thomas moves into the family mansion, acting like he owns it, hosts parties for gambling friends, spends freely. Poor Sophia's traumatized by the sibling situation, won't recover enough to run a company. Marcus positions himself as executor of both estates, billing enormous fees for crisis management. His firm grows by 20 associates, all working on the scandal. James Morrison builds an airtight case against them all, has surveillance footage of Thomas coordinating sabotage, Elena doctoring photos, Victoria bribing vendors, Marcus forging documents, bank records, phone transcripts, video evidence. But James faces a dilemma. His boss disappeared. After the DNA revelation, Damien liquidated accounts and vanished. Passport shows flights to London, Switzerland, then nothing. Gone off-grid, leaving James with fraud evidence but no client. Sophia makes desperate decisions. Unable to bear staying where everything reminds her of Damien, she's arranging to transfer Mendoza Industries shares to Thomas and move to Spain. Paperwork nearly complete when her assistant brings urgent news. "There's a security expert here with information about your father's will. Claims massive fraud, that you and Mr. Blackwood aren't related." Sophia looks up with dead eyes. "Doesn't matter. Even if we're not blood relatives, I can never look at him the same. The damage is done." "He says Silva forged everything. DNA tests, maybe the original will. You're both victims of financial conspiracy." For the first time in weeks, Sophia feels something other than despair. Not hope, but curiosity. If Marcus orchestrated everything, manipulated them into destroying their relationship for financial gain, she wants truth. Not because it changes feelings about Damien, too tangled with shame to ever simple, but because she refuses to be anyone's victim. Send him in. 5 minutes to make his case. Outside, a black sedan with Swiss plates sits in shadows. Damien watches Sophia's penthouse windows, knowing he should leave but unable to. He's flown back to deliver James Morrison's evidence, tell Sophia the truth about Marcus's manipulation. But seeing her building brings back every memory, every connection now tainted by what they believed. Even knowing they're not siblings doesn't erase psychological damage. Some wounds cut too deep, some betrayals change everything forever. Still, she deserves truth. Even if they can never be together, Sophia deserves to know what they felt wasn't wrong, just manipulated by someone else's greed. 3 months pass like slow-motion nightmare. Sophia relocates to her mother's Spanish estate in Seville, surrounded by olive groves and sunshine that mocks her persistent bloom. She walks the grounds obsessively, trying to exhaust herself enough to sleep without dreaming of Damien's hands on her skin. The villa should be healing. Terracotta tiles, whitewashed walls, bougainvillea over stone balconies. Her grandmother's staff brings endless café cortado and food she barely touches. Señorita Sofia, housekeeper Carmen says gently, you cannot keep punishing yourself for something not your fault. Wasn't it? Sophia asks hollowly. I felt the attraction, connection. If we were really siblings, what does that say about me? But the haunting question is different. Even knowing they're not blood relatives, can she ever look at Damien the same way? The psychological trauma of believing they were siblings poisoned every memory. When she thinks of his kisses now, her first emotion isn't desire, it's revulsion, trained by weeks of believing she'd committed unforgivable sin. Meanwhile, halfway around the world, Damien purchased a private island in the Maldives, as far from civilization as money can buy. The irony isn't lost. He's surrounded by paradise, crystal blue waters and powder beaches, while feeling like he's living in hell. He spends days diving coral reefs, pushing his body to physical limits that might exhaust his mind enough to stop replaying that boardroom moment when Marcus revealed their supposed relationship. Sophia's face, horror, disgust, revulsion, plays on endless loop. His only human contact is his pilot, bringing supplies every 2 weeks. Your mother's been trying to reach you. Something about Miss Mendoza and the lawyer. I don't want to know, Damien replies, but that night he lies awake wondering if Sophia's okay, eating, as destroyed as he is. The fact they're not actually siblings should be liberating, but somehow makes everything worse. They destroyed something real based on lies, and knowing it was unnecessary feels like special torture. Sleep is plagued by dreams where Sophia reaches for him with love, only to transform into accusations when she remembers what she thought they were. He wakes with her name on his lips and emptiness in his chest. Tabloids moved on to fresher scandals, but damage lingers. Billionaire siblings flee country in shame was the last headline. Even corrections that they're not related haven't repaired the narrative. Some stains don't wash out. Victoria Blackwood arrives at Sophia's Spanish estate unannounced, looking haggard and older. Sophia's first instinct is to refuse the visit, but something in Victoria's bearing, defeated rather than imperious, makes her curious. I know you hate me, Victoria begins, standing in the sunlit courtyard like a woman seeking absolution. But I need to tell you everything. Sophia gestures for her to continue. I'm listening. Marcus Silva has been playing us all for fools, Victoria says, producing documents. My guilt drove me to hire real investigators. Sophia, the marriage clause in your father's will was forged. Sophia's coffee cup freezes. What? The entire arranged marriage premise was Marcus's fabrication. Your father's real will left you everything unconditionally, Damien inheriting his father's estate in full. No requirement to marry, no connection between fortunes. Victoria's hands shake, spreading authenticated documents. Marcus created the clause to force you into positions he could manipulate. But why? What did he gain? Control, Victoria says grimly. While you focused on each other, fighting or falling in love, you weren't watching what he did with legal proceedings. He's been embezzling from both estates for months, billing fraudulent fees, transferring assets to shell companies. Sophia's mind races. The financial irregularities I found, money seeming to go to Damien, actually went to Marcus-controlled accounts, but he made it look like Damien was the thief. Every piece of evidence making you distrust each other was planted. Victoria produces more papers. DNA tests claiming you were siblings? Completely fabricated. Photos of your father's affair? Real, but Marcus twisted their meaning for maximum psychological damage. Jesus, Sophia breathes, sinking back. He orchestrated everything. Every fight, separation, moment of doubt. Including the final revelation scene, Victoria confirms. He needed you both traumatized so you'd never question proceedings while he robbed you blind. Elena, Thomas, even me, just convenient tools for his scheme. Sophia stares at olive groves, mind reeling. Everything she's endured, guilt, self-hatred, believing she was a monster for loving her supposed brother, all based on elaborate lies designed to steal her inheritance. Where's Damien now? Hiding on some island, probably hating himself as much as you have, Victoria replies. He doesn't know about Marcus's confession. My son is too proud to come crawling back without certainty you want him to. I don't know if I can want him to, Sophia admits painfully. Even knowing truth, I can't flip a switch and forget 3 months. The trauma of thinking we were siblings changed how I see everything we shared. I look at memories and feel sick before remembering it was lies. Victoria nods sadly. Psychological wounds don't heal just because the cause is removed. But I've watched my son through security reports. He's destroying himself with guilt over something never his fault, never your fault. You're both victims. But how do we trust anything between us? How do we know what feelings were real versus products of manipulation? Victoria smiles for the first time. Because I saw you together before this happened, in early days planning a marriage of convenience. The way you looked at each other, moved in synchrony, natural chemistry, that wasn't Marcus's doing. That was two people recognizing something true, despite everything working against you. Sophia feels tears gathering. First she's shed that aren't self-recrimination. What if it's too late? What if we've destroyed something that can't be repaired? Then you'll have lost nothing, Victoria says gently. But if there's a chance love can survive even this level of betrayal and manipulation, don't you think it's worth fighting for? After Victoria leaves, Sophia sits alone until sunset, surrounded by evidence of Marcus's deception. For the first time in months, the tight knot of shame begins to loosen. She wasn't a monster for loving Damien. They weren't committing unforgivable sin. They were just two people trying to find something real in a world of lies, and someone used their honesty against them. The question now is whether love can be rebuilt from such devastation, whether trust can grow in soil poisoned by systematic deception, whether two hearts broken by the same lies can find their way back to each other. Sophia spends 2 weeks in intensive therapy with Dr. Elena Vargas, a trauma recovery specialist who listens without judgment as Sophia unpacks months of self-hatred. You're describing textbook psychological manipulation, Dr. Vargas says during their 4th session. Marcus Silva used your natural trust against you. The fact you were capable of love, even believing it was forbidden, doesn't make you a monster. It makes you human. But how do I stop feeling contaminated? Sophia asks. Every memory of Damien's touch, it's all tainted by what I thought we were. I loved him completely, then hated myself for it. By recognizing your emotions were never dirty to begin with, Dr. Vargas says gently, you fell in love with a man who wasn't your brother. That was always the truth. The shame belongs to Marcus Silva, not you. Through therapeutic work, Sophia separates Marcus's lies from authentic experiences. The first time Damien made her laugh, that was real. Her pulse quickening when he entered a room, real. Trusting him completely, real. Marcus manipulated circumstances but couldn't manufacture genuine emotion. I've been so focused on protecting myself from mistakes that I forgot something important, Sophia tells Dr. Vargas during their final session. I never actually made a mistake. I fell in love with someone I was free to love. Marcus's lies don't change that truth. What will you do with that realization? Sophia takes a deep breath, feeling something shift, a loosening of shame she's carried for months. I'm going to stop punishing myself for someone else's crimes and stop letting fear make my decisions. Meanwhile, on his private island, Damien receives unexpected visitor James Morrison, arriving by speedboat with evidence and a no-nonsense expression cutting through Damien's isolation. "Sir, with respect, you're being an idiot," James says, settling into a beach chair. "I've spent 3 months building a case against Marcus Silva, and you're hiding here feeling sorry for yourself while he continues robbing you both blind." "It doesn't matter," Damien says hollowly. "Even if Marcus manipulated everything, the damage is done. Sophia can't look at me the same way." "Because you're letting Marcus win," James says bluntly. "He wanted to destroy your relationship, and you're doing his work. Do you know what Miss Mendoza's doing right now?" "I don't want to know." "She's in therapy," James continues ruthlessly, "working through trauma Marcus inflicted on you both, fighting to reclaim her right to love whom she chooses, while you're wallowing in self-pity, letting guilt make you a coward." "I'm not a coward, aren't you? You love her. She loves you. Marcus's lies don't change that fundamental truth. But instead of fighting for what you want, you're hiding because the path back isn't easy." Damien sits up slowly, James's words cutting through months of misery. What if she can't get past what happened? What if the psychological damage is too severe? "Then you'll have tried and failed," James says simply. "But right now, you're failing without trying, which is infinitely worse. Miss Mendoza deserves to know her feelings were real, your love genuine, that Marcus's manipulation doesn't negate what you built." That night, Damien watches sunset paint the sky gold and crimson, James's words echoing. He's been so focused on his own guilt that he forgot Sophia might be suffering equally. Worse, he's been convinced their relationship was tainted by Marcus's lies, that he lost sight of something crucial. Love isn't diminished by being tested, it's proven. "I've been an idiot," he tells the empty beach, and for the first time in months, he smiles. Sophia returns to Madrid with clarity she hasn't felt since before the nightmare began. Her first stop is her lawyer's office, filing criminal charges against Marcus Silva for fraud, embezzlement, and emotional manipulation. Over $50 million in stolen assets, attorney Isabella Santos explains, plus damages for emotional distress, reputation harm, and psychological trauma he deliberately inflicted. Marcus Silva is going to prison for a very long time. "Good," Sophia says with satisfaction. "But I want to personally confront him, look him in the eye when his world crashes down." Her second priority is Thomas, who's been living in the family mansion spending money like he owns it. Sophia arrives unannounced, finding him hosting poker in their father's study, surrounded by empty vintage wine bottles. "Sophia!" Thomas jumps up guiltily, cards scattering. "You're back." "I was dealing with things in Spain," Sophia says coolly, surveying damage to their childhood home. "Now I'm dealing with things here, starting with you." She produces legal documents stripping Thomas of any family access. "You conspired with Marcus Silva to defraud me, embezzlement, and emotional manipulation. Your cooperation makes you an accessory to theft. 24 hours to vacate and return every stolen penny, or I'll have you arrested." Thomas's face cycles through shock, indignation, fear. Sophia, I'm your brother. Brothers don't betray each other for money, Sophia interrupts. You chose greed over family. Live with consequences. At Mendoza Industries, Sophia finds James Morrison waiting with a familiar figure slumped in a chair. Marcus Silva looks nothing like the polished lawyer who destroyed her life. His expensive suit is rumpled, face gaunt with stress, hands shaking as he looks up with desperate eyes. Miss Mendoza, I can explain. No need, Sophia cuts him off, settling behind her desk with predatory calm. I know exactly what you did. Authorities are closing in, James explains professionally. Mr. Silva has agreed to cooperate fully and return all stolen assets for reduced sentence recommendation. Sophia studies Marcus, this man who orchestrated elaborate psychological torture for financial gain. Do you have any idea what you did to us? The trauma you caused? The love you nearly destroyed? Marcus's composure cracks. I'm sorry, I never meant it to go so far. I just needed time to cover bad investments, and it spiraled out of control. You made us believe we were siblings, Sophia says quietly, voice deadly calm. You manipulated our deepest fears. You used our capacity for love as a weapon against us. I know, Marcus whispers. I know, and I'm sorry. Sophia leans forward. Your apology means nothing. But understand this. Despite everything you did, you failed. You tried to destroy what Damien and I have, and you failed. Love is stronger than your lies. As security escorts Marcus away, James approaches her desk. There's something else you should know. Mr. Blackwood has been working with me to build this case. He's the one who insisted Marcus face criminal charges, not just civil penalties. Sophia's heart skips. Damien's involved in this? He's been coordinating the investigation from abroad. Every piece of evidence, every legal strategy, he's been fighting for you even while staying away. James places a sealed envelope on her desk. He asked me to give you this. Sophia stares at the envelope bearing her name in Damien's familiar handwriting. Inside are words that might change everything or break her heart completely. Either way, she's finally ready to hear them. Where is he now? Flying back from the Maldives, James replies. Should land in 6 hours. I believe he's planning to attend Marcus's arraignment tomorrow. Sophia's hands tremble as she picks up the envelope. After months of separation, therapy, and rebuilding herself, she's about to discover whether the love she and Damien shared can survive the ultimate test, the truth. The courthouse steps swarm with media when Sophia arrives for Marcus Silva's arraignment, but she only has eyes for the familiar figure standing apart from the crowd. Damien looks different. Thinner, dark hair longer, wearing simple black instead of designer armor. But when he turns and sees her, his green eyes hold the same intensity that stopped her breath in that lawyer's office a lifetime ago. They stand frozen, 6 months of separation and trauma stretching between them like a chasm. Sophia clutches his unopened letter, suddenly terrified of what might happen next. Sophia. Her name on his lips is barely audible over courthouse noise, but she hears it like a prayer. Damien. She takes a tentative step forward, then stops. You came back. I never should have left. His voice is rough with emotion. I was a coward, hiding while you dealt with the aftermath of what that bastard did to us. You weren't the only one hiding, Sophia admits, voice barely steady. I ran to Spain and buried myself in guilt that didn't belong to me. Inside the courthouse, Marcus Silva sits in the defendant's chair looking broken and small. His expensive suit hangs loose on his diminished frame, hands shaking as he listens to charges. Grand larceny, embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy. When the judge asks if he has anything to say before sentencing, Marcus stands slowly and turns to look directly at Sophia and Damien in the gallery. I'm guilty of everything they've accused me of, and more, he says, voice hollow. But my worst crime wasn't stealing money. It was taking two people who loved each other and making them believe that love was wrong. Sophia, Damien, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I needed you to hear it. The judge sentences him to 25 years without parole. As the bailiff leads him away, Sophia feels something unexpected: pity. Marcus destroyed his own life chasing money that was never worth the cost. Outside, they find refuge in a quiet coffee shop around the corner. They sit across from each other in a corner booth, the letter still unopened between them. I wrote that 6 different times, Damien says, nodding at the envelope. Kept trying to find words that could undo months of damage, but there aren't any. Words can't take back the pain we've both been carrying. Then why write it? Sophia asks softly. Because I needed you to know that everything real between us survived Marcus's lies. The way you make me laugh, the way you challenge me, the way you feel perfect in my arms, none of that was manipulation. That was just us, being honest about what we wanted. Sophia's fingers trace the envelope's edge. I've been so afraid that what we had was tainted beyond repair, that even knowing the truth, I'd never be able to trust my own feelings again. And now? Damien's voice is carefully neutral, but she can see the hope he's trying to hide. Now, I think I've been giving Marcus too much power over our story. Sophia opens the letter slowly, scanning familiar handwriting. It's not a love letter or dramatic declaration. It's simpler, a list of every real moment they shared, every genuine laugh, every time they chose each other over convenience. You cataloged our entire relationship, she says wonderingly. I needed to remind myself that what we built was real, Damien explains. Marcus may have manipulated our circumstances, but he couldn't create emotions we didn't feel. Every time you smiled at me, every time we stayed up talking until dawn, every time you trusted me with something important, that was all you, Sophia. That was all us. Sophia sets the letter down and really looks at Damien for the first time since the nightmare began. Past the trauma, past months of separation, past all of Marcus's carefully crafted lies, she sees the man who made her laugh in a parking garage, who kissed her like she was precious, who fought for her inheritance even while believing he'd lost her forever. I love you, she says simply, the words falling between them like a benediction. Not because some will forced us together, not because Marcus manipulated us into proximity, but because you're kind and brilliant and you make me feel like the best version of myself. I love you, and I'm tired of being afraid of that. Damien's composure finally cracks, his eyes filling with tears he's held back for months. I love you too. God, Sophia, I love you so much it terrified me. When I thought we were siblings, the worst part wasn't the shame, it was losing you. Losing the future I'd started to imagine with you. What future? Sophia asks, moving to sit beside him in the booth. Marriage, because we choose it, not because we're forced into it. A partnership built on trust instead of contracts. Children who grow up knowing their parents chose each other freely. Damien cups her face in his hands, his thumb brushing away a tear she didn't realize had fallen. A love story that belongs to us, not to our fathers or lawyers or anyone else. When he kisses her, it's different from every kiss before. Not desperate or stolen or complicated by lies, but clean and simple and entirely theirs. Sophia feels the last of her psychological barriers crumble as she realizes something profound. This is what victory feels like. Not defeating Marcus or reclaiming their inheritance, but choosing love despite every reason to be afraid. Marry me, Damien whispers against her lips. Not because anyone's forcing us, not for money or convenience or family expectations. Marry me because we want to build something beautiful together. Yes, Sophia breathes, and it's the easiest word she's ever spoken. Yes, absolutely yes. He produces a ring, not the elaborate emerald he'd chosen months ago, but a simple, solitaire diamond that captures the light like captured starfire. I bought this yesterday, he admits, slipping it onto her finger. Not because I was certain you'd say yes, but because I was finally ready to risk everything for the chance that you might. That's what love is, Sophia says, admiring the ring that feels like a promise of freedom rather than obligation. Taking risks for each other, fighting for what matters, refusing to let other people's damage define our happiness. They sit in the coffee shop until closing time, rebuilding their relationship word by word, memory by memory, choice by choice. And when they finally walk out into the Madrid evening, hand in hand, Sophia realizes she's never felt more authentically herself than she does in this moment. Loved, free, and finally home. 1 year later, Sophia stands in the executive boardroom of Mendoza Blackwood Industries, looking out at the city skyline where it all began. The merged companies have flourished under their joint leadership, but more importantly, they've rewritten the rules of what a partnership can be. The quarterly reports look exceptional, Damien says, entering with 2 cups of coffee and that smile that still makes her heart skip. Turns out, honesty is surprisingly good for business. Sophia laughs, accepting her cup. Who knew that when you stop lying to employees, investors, and each other, everything runs more smoothly? They've implemented radical transparency policies throughout both companies, open books, anonymous feedback systems, ethics committees with real power. Marcus Silva's manipulation taught them that secrets are poison in any relationship, business or personal. Victoria called, Damien mentions, settling beside Sophia. She's officially retiring from the board next month, says she wants to travel and atone for past interference by staying completely out of our lives. Good for her, Sophia says, meaning it. And Thomas? Last I heard, he's working as a junior analyst in Barcelona. Apparently, actually having to earn his own money has been humbling. Damien's voice holds no malice. They've both learned that holding grudges only hurts the grudge holder. Sophia traces her coffee cup's rim, thinking about how much has changed. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if Marcus hadn't manipulated us? If we'd just been introduced normally at some business function? Honestly, Damien considers this seriously, I think we still would have fallen in love. Maybe it would have taken longer, maybe we'd have thought about different things. But Sophia, some connections are inevitable. Marcus didn't create what we have, he just threw obstacles in the way of what was always going to happen. The love was real, Sophia murmurs, echoing Dr. Vargas's words from therapy. Everything else was just noise. Exactly. Damien takes her hand, running his thumb over the wedding band that now sits beside her engagement ring. And the best part is, we know our relationship can survive anything now. Fraud, family betrayal, psychological manipulation, public scandal, we've been through it all and came out stronger. Battle-tested love, Sophia agrees with a smile. The kind that doesn't break under pressure because it's already been forged in fire. The garden party is perfect in its simplicity. White roses and string lights, close friends instead of society photographers, vows they wrote themselves. Sophia wears her grandmother's vintage lace dress, while Damien chose a classic navy suit that brings out his eyes. Ready? He asks, offering his arm as they prepare to walk down the aisle together, no one giving away Sophia because she belongs to herself first and chooses to share her life freely. More than ready, Sophia replies, and she means it completely. Their officiant is Dr. Vargas, who became licensed to marry them specifically because she wanted to witness the completion of their healing journey. Dearly beloved, she begins with a warm smile, we gather today not to watch Sophia and Damien begin their love story, but to celebrate the fact that their love story survived every test the world could throw at it. When it comes time for vows, Sophia speaks first. Damien, I promise to choose you every single day, not because I have to, but because I want to. I promise to trust you with my truth, even when it's messy or complicated, and I promise that no matter what lies other people try to tell us about ourselves, I will remember what we built together in honesty. Damien's voice is steady but emotional as he responds, Sophia, I promise to love you with my whole heart, the way you deserve to be loved, freely, proudly, without reservation. I promise to fight for us when the world gets complicated, to choose transparency over easy silence, and to never let anyone else's damage define our happiness. When they kiss as husband and wife, the small crowd erupts in cheers, but Sophia only hears Damien's heartbeat against her chest and feels the rightness of finally being exactly where she belongs. As they dance under the stars in their new home, not his penthouse or her family mansion, but a place they chose and designed together, Sophia thinks about the future stretching ahead of them. Children, Damien murmurs in her ear as they sway together. Definitely, Sophia agrees, but on our timeline, for our reasons, no family pressure or societal expectations. As long as they grow up knowing their parents chose each other freely and fought for that choice every single day, Sophia laughs. Looking out at the city lights, Sophia considers their journey. I regret only one thing, that it took so long for us to realize that love isn't something that happens to you, Sophia says, turning in his arms to face him fully. It's something you choose every day, despite every reason to be afraid. Marcus taught us that accidentally. By trying to destroy our choice, he showed us how precious it really is. Damien kisses her forehead tenderly. Here's to choosing each other, Mrs. Blackwood Mendoza. Here's to writing our own story, Mr. Blackwood Mendoza, Sophia replies, and as they walk inside their new home together, she knows with absolute certainty that this is just the beginning of their greatest adventure yet.
Your heart knows the way. Subscribe and follow the beauty.